Hello children, let me welcome you to the virtual class of the Brihan Mumbai Mahanagar Palika. My name is Shraddha teacher. Children, we are in the middle of this COVID-19 pandemic, and because of that we are not able to go to school, but that doesn't mean we are going to stop learning. So we are going to do many lessons which are very interesting from your textbook through the virtual class here. So let us do a lesson in English today. So our lesson for today is a lesson in standard 7th, subject English, and it is lesson number 2.4 from your English textbook, and the name of the lesson is How Doth the Little Busy Bee. So now as you can see, this lesson is about honeybees, okay? And along with a poem on honeybees, we will also be looking at another poem which is a parody. So we will understand what the meaning of a parody is also today. So we all know what poems are in English, isn't it? Poems are something which give us a lot of enjoyment, and when we read a poem we feel good about something. It is something which improves our liking for the language, isn't it? So along with the poem on bees, we will talk about how bees work and how they are so busy and why they are called as busy bees. Okay, sometimes when we have to describe someone, we say he is as busy as a bee. That means bees are creatures which are extremely hardworking, and they are always active, and they always keep themselves busy. So the first poem that we will study in today's video will be the poem How Doth the Little Busy Bee. And later on we will go to a type of poem which is called as a parody. Okay, so when we come to that, I will explain what a parody is and why people write parodies, etc. So let us start our beautiful poem for today, How Doth the Little Busy Bee. Now let us talk about the person who has written this particular poem. So the name of our poet for today is Isaac Watts. Okay, you must have heard about a person called James Watt. So he was a person who discovered something, invented something. Now this one is Isaac Watts. He was an English pastor. Now a pastor is a kind of a priest. Okay, he was a preacher. Preacher means he used to talk about his religion. He used to spread his religion all around. He was a poet. That is why he's written this beautiful poem. And also he was a hymn writer. Now what is a hymn, children? A hymn is like a bhajan. We say bhajan in our language, in Hindi. So in English, it's a hymn. When you sing a song to praise a god, then that is called as a hymn. So Isaac Watts has written this poem, and let us see what he has to say about the little creatures called bees. So how doth the little busy bee? Here doth means does. Okay, there are some words now in English which are not in too much use nowadays. You will find them just in these poems. Okay, these words are called as archaic words. A-R-C-H-A-I-C. Archaic means they are words which were once upon a time used in the English language, but now they are not much in use. So how doth the little busy bee? Let us read the poem line by line. I will try and explain the meaning of the words as well as the meaning of the lines to you. So how doth the little busy bee? Here I told you doth means what? Doth means does. How does the little busy bee? Nowadays we say does. But once upon a time, when these poets used to write these poems, or they used to write plays in English, they used to use the word doth. Okay? And what did I tell you? What do we call such words? We call such words as archaic words. How doth the little busy bee improve each shining hour? That means it keeps on working, it keeps on working. It does not get tired at all. It improves each shining hour. Shining hour means each hour of the day. As the day passes,
Most of us, we start getting tired, isn't it? When we get up in the morning, we are very, very fresh. We have our breakfast and then we get to work and we are fresh. As the day goes along, as the day becomes morning becomes afternoon, afternoon becomes evening, and evening becomes night, we start getting tired and then we realize that we have to rest now. But the poet says, how does the little busy bee, or how doth the little busy bee improve each shining hour? Means how does it keep on working and working and working without getting tired, and gather honey all the day from each opening flower. So how does it go from flower to flower, flower to flower, gathering honey all day? So opening flower here means blooming flower. Now children, when people write poems, they use something called as poetic liberty. So poets are sometimes allowed to make a little bit of change in the language. Okay, for them, people will not say that this is wrong. Why did you use this word here? Because that is part of poetic liberty. So instead of saying blooming flower, our poet Isaac Watts says opening flowers. But then that is okay. We will understand that it is blooming flower. So the bees, they go from flower to flower, flower to flower to collect honey. So the poet is saying, how does she do it? How does the little busy bee do all these things? How does she not get tired? How does she gather honey all day? And how does it go to every opening flower in order to do this? How skillfully she builds her cell. Skillfully. Skillfully means how cleverly or how expertly she builds her cell. Now you must have all seen the honeycomb. See here, you can see the honeycomb here. Okay. See, the poet has put it on the poem itself for us. We can see the honeycomb. This entire thing is called as the comb, C-O-M-B, comb. But each individual, you can say, box is called as the cell. So just like we have a big building, and in the building we have so many individual flats. Okay, so the same way each bee has got its own flat, which is called as a cell. All right. So how skillfully, how cleverly, how expertly she builds her cell. So along with collecting honey the whole day, she also builds her own house. She builds her own cell. How neat she spreads her wax. Now this honeycomb is made up of wax. So how nicely she makes the cell out of wax and labors hard to store it well. So cell meaning, I told you just now, what is cell? The hive, the beehive, or part of the beehive. How neat she spreads her wax and labors hard to store it well with the sweet food she makes. So why is she doing so much of hard work? You can say she is doing all this hard work to collect the sweet food she makes, or to store the sweet food she makes. So what is the sweet food that she makes? It is honey. Okay, honey is said to be a very, very useful and healthy food for humans as well. It has got a lot of therapeutic, or you can say medical properties. Okay, honey is fed to small children. It is easy to digest. It is better than sugar. So you see, so much of hard work the bee does to collect honey for itself, because it is its food. And what we humans do, we sometimes take away the honey from the bee. Not sometimes, always we take away the honey from the bees. Bees are cultivated in apiaries so that people can collect this honey from them. All right. So all in all, children, when you read this poem, what do you get to understand about these small but beautiful and amazing creatures, that is the insect bee? What do you get to know about them? You get to know that these are extremely hardworking animals. Okay, they are extremely hardworking creatures. So just from these 8 lines of the poem, we came to know about the story of honeybees. And what is the story of honeybees? Honeybees, they make honey. They fly from flower to flower, and then from the flower they fly to the hive, okay, and they collect this nectar from the flowers, which we call honey, and which we use it for our use also. So this, children, is about how bees live their life, and that is why we call them busy bees, isn't it? And when there is someone who's extremely busy, extremely hardworking, what do we say? We say he is as busy as a bee, isn't it? So this was about the bees and about the life of the bees and how they are busy, how they are hardworking, okay, and how they continuously strive to make their life better. They have to work hard if they have to live. Now I told you na, that in the poem, in the second part of the poem, you have a parody in your textbook. So let us see what are parodies. So parodies are nothing but, children, they are, so see, we talked about the life of the honeybee, na, see, the honeybee going from flower to flower, collecting the honey, etc. Okay, now we will talk about a parody, like I told you. So what is a parody? A parody is a kind of a poem, or it could be a kind of a writing. It could be a kind of a story. Okay, so a parody is a humorous. So now what is humorous? Humorous means funny. Okay, something which will make you laugh. Or satirical. Satirical means, when we say na, funny in a taunting way. It is funny only, but you want to taunt someone. Imitation. Imitation means what? Copy. Okay, like for example, you have a movie in Marathi which is then made into Hindi. Alright, so that is a imitation or a copy of a serious piece of literature or writing. So what is the meaning of a piece of literature or writing? It could be a story, it could be a book, or it could be a poem. So what are parodies? When there is a poem which someone has written, when there is a story which someone has written, or there is a book which someone has written, and someone else writes a funny copy of that particular story or book, then that is called as a parody. Alright, let's look at an example of a parody now. See here. Twinkle, twinkle, little star, how I wonder where you are or what you are. Now, someone wrote, twinkle, twinkle, little bat, how I wonder where you're at. So see, they have copied this very famous, you can say, nursery rhyme, twinkle, twinkle, little star, and they've made it twinkle, twinkle, little bat. Okay, and instead of saying how I wonder where you are, they're saying how I wonder where you're at. So what have you done? You have just made a copy of the original poem. So we are going to study a parody of the poem which we studied now. So what was our original poem? How doth the busy little bee. So we are going to study the parody of this particular poem which is written by this person called Charles Lutwidge Dodgson. He is better known as Lewis Carroll, and he was a very, very famous writer of children's fiction in English. Children's fiction. Fiction means something which is not true, something which is a story. So he has written stories for children. The most famous story, you can say, which this person Lewis Carroll has written is this particular story, Alice in Wonderland. Most of us have heard about this story. This story you can see when you go to YouTube and you will type Alice in Wonderland. You will be able to see the story. There are two Alice in Wonderland stories which are 15 minutes long, which are 1 hour long. Okay, you even have a movie, Alice in Wonderland, but that is in English. Most of us might not understand what they're saying. So you will be able to get this in Hindi, in Marathi also. Okay, so this is one of the most famous stories written by Lewis Carroll. So Lewis Carroll has written a parody of the poem written by Isaac Watts, which we just studied. How doth the little busy bee. So let us look at the parody. Now if you look at your textbook, after the poem on the bee, just below it you will see this particular poem. A parody. So now we will try and see what the connection is between this poem and the original one. So when I read this and when I explain it to you, you will, I think, understand how this poem makes fun of something else. Okay? So a parody. How doth the little crocodile, so instead of the little bee, what are we talking about? We are talking about the crocodile. How doth the little crocodile improve his shining tail and pour the waters of the Nile on every golden scale. See, what is he doing? Crocodile, he is lying in this position and he is using his tail to pour the waters of the Nile. Now this Nile is the name of a river. So let us imagine that this is a story about a crocodile whose home is the river Nile in Egypt. Okay. So what is he doing? The crocodile, he is simply waving its tail. He's not moving from his place also. Okay. He is waving his tail and he is pouring the water on these fishes that you can see. And the poor fishes, because of the force of the water, see where they are going? They're going towards the mouth of the crocodile. So is the crocodile going to the fish? No, he's just lying there and just using his tail in order to pull the fish towards him. How cheerfully he seems to grin. Okay, what is he doing? Cheerfully he is grinning. Grinning means he is smiling broadly. He's showing all his teeth. So how cheerfully he seems to grin. When someone grins, it means someone is showing all his teeth and smiling. How neatly spread his claws and welcomes little fishes in with gently smiling jaws. So what is he doing? He is not working hard. He is not running from here to there. Okay, he is just lying in his place, opening his mouth wide and grinning, and he is welcoming the fishes into his jaws. Jaws means into his mouth. So now did you understand why this is a parody of the previous poem? In the previous poem, we had a creature which was small in size, but very, very hardworking. In this parody, we have a creature which is huge in size, but he is a lazy animal. He doesn't move from his place. He just lies about and he invites the fish into his mouth and he sits in a place and his stomach is full. So this is the parody by Lewis Carroll in which we have tried to compare these two animals. Okay. Now when Isaac Watts has written about the bee, this person Lewis Carroll decided to write about the crocodile and he borrowed from the style in which Isaac Watts has written about the bee. Alright children, so see this is the crocodile. See how aram se, how leisurely he is lying on the side of the river. And look at the size of his body. He's so huge, isn't it? Naturally, he will not be able to run fast from here to there or fly around like the bee. And then what he does is when he lies like this, in the water also, see this is how his prey or you can say his food flies into his mouth. So he makes actions with his tail and then the fish automatically enters into his mouth. So he has got no effort, he's taking no efforts in order to eat. But look at our poor bee, how much of effort it is taking, working from morning to night. See, look here. So this is how the crocodile lazes in the sun. Whenever you go to a park, whenever you go to a zoo, and you will be able to see crocodiles, most of the time, you have to search for them. Okay, you have to search, you have to try and find out where they are so that you can see them lying somewhere. You will see them lying under a rock. You will see them lying among the bushes with their mouth open and lazing in the sun. And they are also always very happy that their stomach is full without taking any major efforts. Alright, so that is why Parody has been written by Lewis Carroll on the crocodile, and he has borrowed from the poem which is written about the bees. Okay, now come on, let's try to compare these two poems. So how doth the little busy bee is the original, and how doth the little crocodile. Now, is the crocodile little? Not at all. It is not at all little. That is the parody. So choice of the animal, choice of the subject. So which animal is the original poem talking about? It is talking about the honey bee. And what about the parody? The parody is talking about the crocodile. What about the number of lines and stanzas in the original poem? You have 8 lines in 2 stanzas. Okay? What about the parody? Here also you have 8 lines in 2 stanzas. So is the construction same or similar? The construction is similar. Okay? The way those lines have been written are similar, but in the parody you will see that there are more rhyming words, whereas in the original there are less rhyming words. In the parody there are more rhyming words. And what is the tone of the poem? What does the poet, what is the style and what is the tone? In what way has the poet talked about these animals? So in the original there is appreciation for the bees. Okay, the poet Isaac Watts is very appreciative about the bees. Whereas in the parody there is a kind of a fun, satirical tone. Satirical means we say na kisi ka mazak banana. So satirical tone. That means the poet is trying to mock the crocodile. Mock means make fun of the crocodile here in this particular poem. Okay, so now you know what is the meaning of a poem which is original and its parody. So children, now whenever I present such an exercise to you, it skipped my mind to tell you in the beginning, you should never directly copy the answers that I am giving you. Okay, you should pause the video and try to write your answers. Try to read the poem, look at the questions properly and try to write your own answers. In case you're not able to, then you can continue playing the video. In case you're able to, even then you can continue playing the video and check and cross-check with my answers. Okay, let's move on to the next exercise and let us try to answer the questions. So, what does the bee stand for? What does the bee stand for means what does the bee symbolize? Okay, the bee stands for hard work, discipline, teamwork and dedication. See, the bee is hardworking, extremely hardworking children, because it goes from flower to flower, it gathers honey, it works throughout the day like you saw in the poem, isn't it? It builds its own house also, and it also sees to it that it stores this food that he has gathered. It is disciplined. It goes to the flower, it gathers the nectar from the flower, it goes back to the beehive, it deposits the nectar there, goes back to the flower. Okay, so it is very, very disciplined. There is a lot of teamwork also. You will see hundreds of bees in one hive. Okay, they work together in coordination. You will never see them fighting like you see the dogs fighting on the road. You will never see these bees fighting, and a lot of dedication they have. That is, whatever work they begin, they will end it. They are like ants. You must have seen ants also, which are extremely small creatures, and how they carry their food and how they work. They go in a line, okay, how they work as a team. So the bee also stands for hard work, for discipline, for teamwork and for dedication. Let us look at the next question. What does the crocodile stand for now? So as against the bee, according to the poem, the crocodile stands for laziness. The crocodile doesn't want to do too much work. It just wants to lie around in the sun with its mouth open, relaxed throughout the day. And when it wants to hunt also, most of the time you will see that the crocodile lies down in the water with its mouth open, waiting for its food to come and enter into its mouth. So it welcomes the fishes into its mouth. Okay, so it is a lazy creature. Of course, children, you will be able to see crocodiles hunting also. They are very stealthy hunters. Stealthy means they are very, very quiet hunters. Now you will see these deer, etc., coming to drink water in the river. The crocodile slowly comes from under the water and it catches hold of the leg of the deer and it pulls it inside the water. Okay, so crocodiles do hunt also, but generally they are lazy. Next question is, why does the bee work hour after hour? Why do you think the bee works hour after hour? It works so that it can gather food for itself and its friends. Okay, so it is not that when I collect honey, if I'm a honeybee, if I'm collecting honey and I'm storing it in my cell, I will not give that honey to anyone else. It is not like that. They are a team and they work like a team, and that is why they make so much of food, not only for themselves but also for their friends. Okay, now this is the last, you can say, exercise which we will do here for this particular lesson. So you will try to describe the crocodile in your own words. Now in your own words means that you will try to write some lines about the crocodile. Now when you read the poem, there are certain words which are used, which like I told you, they are poetic liberties. Certain words the poets can use, okay, but we cannot use. When I want to write about a crocodile, if my teacher tells me to write 4 lines about a crocodile, can I say that the crocodile was smiling at me? I cannot say that, because a crocodile is not a human being. Okay, so smiling is a quality which only we human beings can smile at others. So when I describe the crocodile, I have to use words which are realistic, that is, which are there in the real world. So now these are all words which are there in the poem. These words marked with pink dots, they are all words in the poem. So which words will you use to describe a crocodile if you're writing your own description, and which words will you drop? So I will say my points. Okay, now this question, children, is totally subjective. Okay, I will say that I will use this word because I can explain it. You might use some other word. You will have to explain why you will use that word. So let us look at my words, so you will get an idea about how you will describe a crocodile. So I will use the word little, because a crocodile could be a small crocodile also. It could be a huge crocodile also. So if I want to talk about a baby crocodile, a small crocodile, I will use the word little to describe it. What about shining tail? Yes, I might use the word shining tail, because when the crocodile enters water and when sunlight falls on the tail could shine. That is my explanation. You could say, no teacher, the tail doesn't shine, it is not light. That is also okay. Alright, then I will use the word claws, because claws are a part of the body of the crocodile. It is a body part of the crocodile. So I will safely use the words claws to describe the crocodile. And I will use the word jaws. Jaws means what? The teeth, you can say the mouth of the crocodile, along with the teeth and everything else, is called as the jaw. So the crocodile does have a big jaw with lots of teeth in it. Okay. About golden scale, I might not use this word to describe a crocodile, because I have never seen a golden crocodile. Okay. Or I have never seen a golden, you can say, fish also. A goldfish is also not golden in color. Then I will not use the word cheerful also, because crocodiles cannot be cheerful or sad. These are all human emotions. I will not use the word grin, because I told you in the beginning, grinning is a human quality. I feel that the crocodile is not grinning, it is just showing its teeth, it is just opening its mouth, it is not grinning according to me. Gently smiling also I will not use if I want to write a realistic description of the crocodile. Alright children, so this was the lesson that we did. We talked about the poem How Doth the Little Busy Bee. We talked about how the life of the bee is very busy, and then we understood what the meaning of a parody is, and we also looked at the parody for this particular poem written by Lewis Carroll, and the name of the parody was How Doth the Little Crocodile. We compared what a poem is against its parody, and we also compared the subjects of the two poems. That is, a honeybee, we compared it to a crocodile. We also saw what are the similar things in these two poems. And we talked about the question and answers in this particular poem.
So children, now you have watched the video. So after you watch the video now, you will have to complete a few simple tasks. Now you might have watched the video on your computers or your laptops or your mobile phones. Now after you watch the video, what will you do? You will please go to the description box which is given below the video. So what is the description box? See, the description box looks like this. Alright, and after you go to the description box, you will see that there are a few questions there. Now what are these questions about? These questions are about the lesson that we just learned or the video that you just watched. So what will you do? You will think back properly about the lesson and you will try and answer these questions and note down the answers in your notebook if you want. Okay? After that, we have another task waiting. You will also click on the link which you will find in the description box to fill up the Google form. So now what is the Google form, children? It is nothing but a simple form. There are a few simple questions there about the video which you just saw and also about yourself. So these are the tasks now that you will have to complete after you watch each video. So children, wasn't that a very interesting lesson? I'm sure you learnt a lot of new things in this lesson. If you have liked this video, please hit the like button and also subscribe to my video so that you will get to see all the videos which I keep posting regularly.